On my version of your book. Now, in terms of this, there is a pathway. In ways, it is not as detailed as the pathway that we do for respiration, but it has its own little kicks to it. Just like respiration, they're really limited on what they can ask you, and that's what makes it good in my book. So it can be a full question, it can be a full experiment question. They usually do photosynthesis and respiration as a half and half, so they can ask it in both ways. And you had a stupid sentence for when we did respiration, and this is just the photosynthesis one, but we'll talk about what you can do using the respiration equation for it. So we're looking at this page roughly. It's slightly different in your book, but this is where we're at. Now this won't ping because of the joy that is Apple, but essentially we would have water coming in, carbon dioxide coming in, we'd have the little bit of light energy, and what are the products? It's going to make us two products are going to come out of your cell. Any takers? Because it's
oxygen.
Yeah, so you're going to have oxygen coming out. And
water vapor.
No, it's water vapor coming
glucose.
in. Yeah, and glucose. So it literally is going to be, when we get to it, the flip of respiration in terms of reactants and products. So photosynthesis is the production of glucose using light energy trapped by chlorophyll. So the inorganic material is your carbon, your hydrogen, your oxygen. So other than plants, any other things that you know of that do photosynthesis? No takers? So other than plants, you will get algae. So seaweed on a beach will do it. And there are certain bacteria that are photosynthetic.
Miss, could you go back to the first slide just for a second, please?
You good to go, Cam?
Yeah, you can move on now, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we've said plants, blue-green algae, some bacteria. So is it, I don't know, have you seen Elon Musk is offering $1 million for somebody that can create the best carbon capturing technology, and some guy entered a tree saying that's the best thing. So in terms of our equations, because you're doing higher level, it's going to be the chemical equation, not the word equation. So you can use the could dog walkers gossip over lemon cake, or else you are reversing it. It is just the opposite of respiration, in that your reactants are now your products and your products are now your reactants. So it is this could dog walkers gossip over lemon cake. So you have to be able to write the chemical formula. Now they're not going to mark you on the light and chlorophyll, but these guys answer other questions. Okay, are we happy with that? So it's just a flip of what respiration was. So 4 things respiration requires. What are they? Share with me, because otherwise I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Light,
Correct. Second thing?
carbon dioxide,
Correct.
water, and chlorophyll.
Correct. So then in terms of where these things come from, what is the sources? So this one is a real important one because they like to ask this. So the ATM is atmosphere. So carbon dioxide comes from the atmosphere, it comes from respiration. Water is coming from your soil. Your light energy is from your sun. And your chlorophyll will be found in your chloroplasts. So in the brackets are the sources. Okay, we happy? So then the 2 things produced, glucose and oxygen, and what I would refer you to here is the fact that sources of carbon dioxide and where oxygen goes are the exact same. So Juliet, Charlie. So I'm trying to work out why I can hear Cameron but I can't see her. I think I figured that out now. So Cam, Rebecca, Sophie, Miles.
Ava Shirley said that her Wi-Fi was down.
That's alright,
So-
we're all having problems. So I have Molly, I have Rachel, I have Emily, I have 2 Cams, I have Sophie. So we've lost Jonah. Nope, Jonah's back. Okay, so in terms of then the energy conversion, so light energy gets converted into what? So when we store food, what type of energy is that? You would have done it in junior cycle physics. Any idea?
Chemical.
Yeah, so light, it's chemical energy, it's a form of fuel. So our light energy is going to be converted into chemical energy. What is the point of having photosynthesis? What does it do for us?
Make glucose.
Yeah, so make glucose. So what is the name of the organisms that are capable of making their own food? What's that word?
Autotrophs.
Autotrophs. So in terms of photosynthesis, we have our autotrophs. We're going to use it to make food. What's then the equivalent word for organisms that have to eat food to gain their nutrition?
Heterotrophs.
Yeah, so then you have, it's going to feed heterotrophs. The other great thing is that it produces the oxygen, which we need for respiration, and it's going to remove carbon dioxide. And when we do ecology, we'll do the carbon cycle. So removing carbon dioxide from the air, you can use it to make fossil fuels if the conditions are right. So this is one of the big tech things that is happening now. You have loads and loads of people that are trying to take carbon dioxide in the air and turn it into the equivalent of fossil fuels. So then we'll have a carbon neutral fuel that we can burn. So anything that removes carbon dioxide from the air is called a sink, a carbon sink. So plants are brilliant carbon sinks. The ocean is a brilliant carbon sink. Okay, so in terms of, I'm going to change my share, if that's okay. I gotta find it first. This, so this is just really nice animation. So this is the kind of spongy mesophyll heading up toward the palisade cells. So we're inside in the chloroplast now, and you can see these stacks. So they're like a whole load of pancakes on top of one another. So these are called grana, plural, granum, singular. And this is where a thing called the light stage happens that we're going to do today. And that is all of the different little electron transfer systems. You're seeing them there, but we're not going to wreck your head with the detail because our detail is much, much simpler. So in terms of us and our diagram, I'm going to come out from this, save and close, new. So when we did cell structure, we would have had to draw chloroplasts. So this is just our little reminder. So it has a double membrane. We draw everything with a double membrane. So these are our stacks. I'm just going to draw them in green.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're still seeing the video.
Thank you, Jim. It should have changed. Is it now changed? Okay, I'm going to stop my share. And I'm going to share again. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're drawing our green stacks. we are going to draw our DNA plasmid in red. We will draw our little starch granules in that, and then I think that is pretty much everything. So then, other than labeling, so it's going to have its version of a cell membrane. These stacks are called grana in the plural and granum in the singular. And here is where a thing called the light stage, which we will probably start today, happens here. The liquid part of the cell is called the stroma, so it's not cytoplasm, it's now called stroma, and the dark stage happens here. This is our DNA plasmid, suggesting that once upon a time chloroplasts were photosynthetic algae that got, or photosynthetic bacteria that got incorporated into other organisms. So they have their own piece of DNA, and these little dots here are starch granules. So we have an inner and an outer cell membrane. Because remember, the definition for eukaryotic is membrane bound organelles. So this is the organelle, and it is membrane bound. The only other addition that I would like to make, and we'll make the dots bigger so we can tell them from the starch granules, are there will be ribosomes in here too. So folks, I'm going to let you go now. It's 43. I'm going to leave you go for 10. So you can turn off cameras and mics and disappear for 10 minutes.
Miss,
Yeah.
are the small dots starch granules?
Starch granules are the very small dots, and the bigger ones we'll just make them as ribosomes to tell them apart.
Thank you.
Miss, are the two cell membranes called outer cell membranes?
Outer, so the first line is the outer, and the second line, the inside line, is the inner. So it's coming from the idea of membrane bound organelles, so it has to have membranes.